This is the first iteration of my personal GHB tier list, or free unit I should say, but it's just how I feel about the all the free units that have been released since launch pretty much, who holds up, who doesn't, and I've got a few sample builds for the characters who I think are like at least decent. So yeah, first of all, I'm going to go through Cronia. Cronia is very, just to note, I put these under like really strong good as opposed to letters, just because I like the style more, and I feel like, because you hear B tier and you think, oh, I probably shouldn't, but like maybe, but I don't like that philosophy personally. So just a strict, you probably shouldn't do this, and I say this very loosely because KANA is down here and I'm making a +10 male KANA as we speak pretty much. So once again, it's favorite characters obviously. I know people with +10 Xanders, everything like that, so it's definitely personal opinion, but it's going to who's probably the most useful. First we have Cronia. She's basically, if you don't know what her weapon does, it neglects all debuffs and then gives her extra stats. So she actually wants to get debuffed. Like, you can run her with maximum everything, like even if she gets hit by like Bright Shrine or Dark Shrine, she's just better off. So it's just a very standard solo build. Doesn't take that much damage, and she has noontime to heal. Granted, you can run solo or anything else, that's just an example. But yeah, very strong unit. That's why she's up there. Next we have Itsuki, and I have this for a lot of like really fast infantry melee units. Just DC Spurn, Pulse Smoke, and Speed Arrow solo. Granted, I have this on a significantly worse unit in solo, but I like her, so that's all that really matters for me. As far as Itsuki goes, you can really replace his weapon. His weapon's alright. It's definitely better, like in not later turns, but later in the turn. Or you can run something like Carrot Cudgel and then just not have to worry about it. Definitely a good unit. He's just a ball of stats. Another thing to realize is for arena scoring specifically, he can hit. I think he has 175 BS2 at that bin, so you're good to go. And Dragon Effectiveness, he's a very good unit. Right, next we have Cronia. I personally don't like using Cronia, but she's a very strong unit. Glimmer, everything like that. So you're getting a ton of damage with things like Bolt Tower, and I guess it's kind of obsolete to use things like Duo Hector, but still good units nonetheless. Pretty much a dancer and somebody with repo, and you're pretty much good to go with Cronia. She just gets into her wonky vantage range. So basically whenever... Oh, I didn't put Savage though, my god. I made that thing wrong, but don't worry about it. So basically if her opponent has less than 100% HP, she will attack first, barring like Hardy Baron or something like that. So that's why she's so popular, because she's not a vantage unit, she is like a reverse vantage unit. So she can stay at full HP and still be in vantage range. Next up we have Masala. This is an offensive Masala, but you can run this on AR defense, and you can run like Sturdy Impact, whatever you want really. But this is pretty much just a standard Gale Force set. Just run in, hit, get hit, hit again. Because Racing has what, 51 speed with Fury. You should be hitting. Heavy Blade's gonna be a bit of a problem. Granted, if you're on like Astra, then you need even more attack. And the IVs help too. Granted, these are all like max invested, +10 flowers, +10 everything. So this is just full investment. You by no means have to do any of this, but this is just the ideal Masala build, and this is Fury just so you can chip yourself into Wounds of Mercy without taking too much damage. And then you have draw, drag back. So in case you really want to, you can test traps without like sitting on them. You can just hit something, and if you're in drag back range of a lightning trap, worst case scenario, you hit it and you're in wings and mercy range. Not much of a problem there. So that rounds up the really strong tier. Next tier, we have Ashnard. He's just a fireball frontline, and he's all you could ever want. One of the main things, I use guard instead of guard bearing. Guard is just good, stops go force teams, stops special acceleration almost entirely, barring like flashing blade and female wireless weapon. But guard, really good, stops pretty much every go force that doesn't get danced. Have QR, you have ward flyers, because this is assuming flyable. And then you have IO shield in the weapon, and you're all good. So he's really strong. And also, I didn't give him an IV. You can run a lot of IVs, but I actually don't mind the neutral one. But yeah, very, very strong unit if you ever want a frontlining, fireball unit. Next, we have Versa, something who's aged very well actually, especially with the introduction of like how popular triple mythics are. So this build shows her getting to 59 HP, but if you're running triple mythics, she gets up to 74, I want to say. So that should be panicking pretty much everything. You have panic ploy just in case something isn't next to something else. But Versus Knight, it's -4 and panic to anybody who is adjacent to somebody else with less than 3 or more HP than a Versa. And she's Wings of Mercy just in case. But she shouldn't be in combat, at least at the beginning. But yeah, very good support unit, especially if you want to run like a broadleaf unit. Just very strong unit nonetheless. Next we have Jafar. I really would put Jafar above, like in the really strong tier, but he is colored, and I feel like that holds him back a lot, especially being green. Being green certainly isn't too bad, but it's not doing him any favors. If he was a speedy colorless dagger, even with the armor, I guess hindrance, I think he's still fine. This build shows an AR defense team or defense build. Got AR speed, ARD, speed def. Pretty much just you either want ground orders or you want some kind of way to warp somewhere. I guess ground orders is ideal, but with how much damage that bonfire does, you can really I guess you could in theory be enemy phase, but either way, it's a lot of damage from bonfire. He's basically a nuke, but you can run him in a lot of ways. The only reason I have him like this is because he can't tank well, at least when he's colored. Last one for good tier, we have May Minerva. She has her own fancy IoT shield. She has flyer formation, which is nice. I probably would have given her flyer formation anyway, but with that plus res, I guess asset now via flowers or fruits, she with a bond hits 33, which is like almost good enough for it to work. She has plenty of defense with Dragoon Shield, and she still has slaying from her weapon, so she's realistically fine. Once again, another really good fireball team, and you don't need to waste an IO shield. Okay, next for the alright tier, I guess, we have Astrum. Astrum's a pretty good unit. His weapons, his personal weapon at least, is not very good in my opinion. So this is just him with carry cuddle. Once again, same build as Itsuki. Nothing too special. Granted, you can run a lot of different things. You could run like lulls, you could run like a Fort Def res set if you really wanted to. Plenty of things you can run. This is just an example. I think Astrum's pretty good. I think if Itsuki didn't exist, he might be better, but outside of like Grail costs, Itsuki's better than Astrum in pretty much every way. Next we have Recruit. So Recruit got refined pretty recently with low attack defense, and the reason a lot of people are running low attack defense twice just for the extra -3 and -3, which is pretty similar to what we're doing. I have this in a speed set. Once again, you can run pretty much anything you want. You can run double low attack defense. I'm just running this to avoid getting doubled, because with the speed boon, low attack speed, and speed res solo, you are hitting 34 plus 6 is 40 speed, which is a lot better, and your foe can't speed buff themselves, which is really nice. And then you have 43 defense plus 2 low attacks, and then you have 42 res plus 2 low attacks. You should be fine for any one hit. Yeah, and even if you do get doubled, it's probably not the end of the world. Overall, very good unit. Next, similar to what I was talking about with Jafar, I don't think that Jafar is very good because he's colored, and I don't think Cecilia is very good because she has 29 speed. Correct, this is 29 speed with all of these stat buffs. She's +10 flowers. If you ignore that as -6, she has 23 speed. She's super subpar. Granted, Seal tries to salvage that, but it doesn't do a fantastic job. It does what it can, but that's how I personally have a +10 Cecilia. Which is Cecilia. She's not very good. I haven't been able to use her very often, and that's the build I run as well. So not a whole lot I can do really. She's not great, but I like her. I feel like in theory she could be better, but that's just where I feel like she is right now. Next we have one of my favorite units in Fallen Delthea. So this is a rally, or I don't have the rally in there, but this is a rally trap type set for air defense. She has steady impact, and sturdy blow too. Granted, you can run when steady blow steel becomes a thing. You can run steady blow steel with sturdy blow or sturdy impact Delthea, but I've roughed this guy. I think that's probably your best special because she has pretty high HP, all things considered. Unless you're running like several things, because you want her to have an instant special regardless. But yeah, steady impact's pretty good. Low speed res definitely good. Death being a fury-ish type tome, definitely good, especially for setting up things like Wings at Mercy if you have to. Very good unit, one of my favorites. I have her at +6 right now. I might get it a +10 depending on what I decide to do with my girls for the future, but definitely a very good unit. Next we have Flame Emperor. A lot of people really like Flame Emperor, but I have Flame Emperor in the alright tier, mostly because I'm keeping this as a they for those of you who have not played Three Houses. They're pretty much just a scoreboard. Like, they're a pretty good unit, and they have 180 BST, which is like the whole, whoa, 180 BST is so cool. Like, she's a fine, they're a fine unit, they're a fine unit. Not a lot to say. Scorebot pretty much. Just a random full SP team currently. That's all it is. It's Scorebot. I don't know what else to put it. Not a great unit overall, but it does what it does well. Next is Gangrel. I think Gangrel's really good, especially with the same type of set as Delthea, as mentioned previously. So Left and Dagger actually does true damage based on your opponent's res, which is essentially, I feel like that's trying to be adaptive damage, it just doesn't do it super well. But yeah, it's the same type of thing. Gangrel having slightly more HP than Delthea, I gave him Infantry Pulse. It's really a personal option, you can do whatever you want, but I think Gangrel is really good. Good pref, great attack stat, and decent HP. does what he needs to do. Next is Garen. Or not. Next is Garen. And another thing I have seen is you can run like Null C with Soul or Noontime, and I guess Noontime wouldn't work because he's a dragon, but yeah, definitely run it with Soul. I have low attack res here just because, what, 43, 42 defenses if you include the lull. He just does what he wants to do. You have him QR because 29 speed isn't getting you anywhere. And the low res is just so he does a bit more damage. 59 attack is pretty high, but it's not everything you're going to want in the world. Attack smoke just to make your defenses a little bit better, and then you have bonfire of damage. Especially with 40 defense, that's at least 20 damage bonfire before buffs. Next is Iago. I feel like it's a pretty solid unit. You can run Iago in the same sense that you can run Gangrel, but I personally don't like it. I like to run something along the lines of like a Versa type support. His weapon's really weird. It's all turn based and you have to plan around it really specifically. Probably have like really specific units, but that's just how it works. Hex Blade is just for damage. Even though he has sky high attack, he's just helping other people do damage. Not a whole lot. Next is another very recent refine in Legion. So Legion's Axe is it's an HP threshold, which is the main reason I'm not running Fury, because I've seen Fury run a lot, but I don't like it with the HP threshold. So you have to stay above 70 HP, and then you get attack speed. I think it's +5, and then either way it's a very strong weapon. But anyway, Reckless Guide, really good, short cooldown. I'm pretty sure it's slaying as well, or the weapon. So there's no reason not to. Steady posture 3, just good defenses, and good speed helps bump Spurn because God knows Legion does not have good defenses. Solo is speed res solo. You can keep speed res solo. I would change that to speed defense solo if that ever sees the light of the day. But this is assuming that he never gets anywhere near a mage. That's another thing. Like, I'm pumping defense for the sole purpose that I don't want it to ever interact with something that's dealing magic. But yeah, Legion, pretty decent unit in my opinion. He's kinda specific, I guess, but I think he's pretty good. Next we have Novara, who I think is severely underrated. I think Novara is super good with slaying and cooldown -2. Or like cooldown count. Basically it's double quick impulse and slaying, so he's a 2 charge go force before quick impulse, which is wild to me. So this one has Fury 4 for the same reason that Masala did, because he has to chip himself down. And granted, you can run something like Flashing Blade, so you can get a 1-hit gale force, and I don't really like that idea, but it's an option, certainly. Low speed defense, just making sure that he doubles and that he can actually get damage, because that's one of the things he really struggles with. Damage is not exactly a strong suit. Even with Fury 4, he only has 58 attack. After Swiftbear is 62, but regardless, that's not a lot, especially for somebody colored. He's gonna have to work for it. Attack smoke is just there to increase his survivability. Nothing too fancy. Last in the alright tier is gonna be Pane. So Pane is another good defensive, or yeah, like a defensive team go forcing unit. The main reason I have her on here is because she's a beast, and because she's a beast Cav, she has the impact effect. So you can run. I have attack speed solo for her, but you can run a lot of different things. Swift Sparrow, tons of stuff. But she is a rally trap type. I guess I would have run. I probably should have run lunge, but you can run a lot of things. Lunge is definitely what you want. Wait, I just realized I've made that build so wrong. Assume she has heavy blade, seal, and lunge in B. Sorry about that. That's what I would do. It's just the best way to run her. Let's see. Attack speed solo, pretty self-explanatory. Go force. Lunge to get behind teams, and then your wings at right range, hopefully. So you get back there. I guess you can Fury as well. This is how I run a lot of Go Force units. But that's just my opinion. Attack smoke is just, well, it's attack smoke. It's to make the enemies deal less damage. That's probably about it for that tier. Lastly, we have the maybe tier. I say lastly because this is the last set of units that I made sample builds for. So, Azra, she's a dancer. Joking. Anyway, she's not that good outside of being a dancer, honestly. That's why I said that. This build has double drive attack and forge defense, just for like an AR team. I guess realistically you would want it to be base merge, because there's no real reason to have a +10 as the dancer. The higher merge count it is, the more likely it is to attack instead of dance. But yeah, good thing is that she's a dancer. Not a whole lot else. Drive attack, just it's drive attack. It gives whoever you're dancing more attack. Wings of Mercy, obviously teleport in. Dancing, not a whole lot to say. Next we have Barb Shuriken, Noontime, Camilla. I don't think Camilla is fantastic by any means. I know Actress used her for a really long time, but I never really saw too much of a reason to use her. I'm pretty positive he has Shield instead of Fierce Stance, so I apologize for that. But I really don't love this build by any means. I'm pretty sure you just run in there. Actually, I think he runs Savage Blow as well. I think he just runs in there, hits like once with Savage Blow, and then just gets hit, counters back with Barb Shuriken, maybe Noontime, because charge specials with advantage. Regardless, not a great unit, but a little better than some, I guess. Next is Death Knight. I know a lot of people run Death Knight just to counter Go Force teams, because one thing that his Breath Scythe does is it blocks follow-ups. And even if you have no follow-up, which is rare to begin with, I gave him a stance 3 skill, or stance 4 I guess, but it has the guard effect as well. Low type defense, just take less damage, deal more damage, simple as that. QR is the charge bonfire, because his set pref is slaying, so he will get hit proc. And if he really needs it, he'll have the bonfire. If not, then he'll have bonfire ready for next turn or next combat. Not too much to worry about. He's a pretty good unit. Probably not worth all your grails, and that's what a lot of these units will be as well. It's not super worth it. Speaking of not super worth it, we have a Loki. She's a Tempest Trial unit. If she was a GHB unit, she might be okay, but because she's a Tempest Trial unit, she's not great. And I just gave her Brave Bow and Swift Pharaoh 7 or Swift Pharaoh 5. Not a whole lot extra to say. You can run something like George or Gordon or anything. Any little bit, or Klein is another one that comes to mind. Just any fast mate or fast archer with Brave Bow type thing. And Swift Pharaoh 5 does the exact same thing. The only thing that's like kinda better about this is that it has flyer formation, but if you're running something with guidance, you get the same thing done. I think Loki's fine. I certainly don't think she's bad. And this is not a don't use them because this exists. These stats are good. Granted, I wouldn't use them because other things exist, but that's just an opinion. Next we have Lois, and I'm going to put Rolf in here as well. So these are, I guess I'll put Titania in here for a third one, but these are all just cav line. Just a cav with 2 range. That's what cav lines are. Whoops. So you got just pretty, like, I try to build it as defensively as possible to have like close to even defenses, but her defense is so bad with Sturdy Blow and AR ARD speed def, she only hits like, what's that, plus 10, she hits 40, 39, it's not terrible, but that's what it does. Guard is just good on cav lines. Panic smoke is just in case you don't have a panic staff user. I pretty much run the same thing for Rolf. That's slightly different because he has more defense than Res. And I ran ward cav. Also budding bow, just the impact effect. It's either +4, +4, -4, -4 on foes, but it's also impact effects, so they are unable to counterattack twice. And then for Tetonium, Heroic Fox, there aren't a whole lot of good red tomes. Also, mainly the fact that she is red makes it a little worse for wear. Guard does what Guard does. Doesn't let them charge the specials. Moonbow, pretty self-explanatory. Once again, tried to even out her stats with Sturdy Blow. Guys, you wouldn't run all of these at once, and even if you did, you would just switch out seals. Not too big of a deal. Okay, and we switched, or not switched, we skipped Masked Marth and Ursula. So, Masked Marth, this build right here is very similar to the, not Ashnard, the Astrum Itsuki build, DC, Spurn. I put a attack smoke on her because her res is abysmal. She has 19 base res, I think. She has 26 here, not doing a whole lot. I ran Sealed Falchion just because she's probably never going to be at full HP, because noontime it heals, but it certainly doesn't heal you back to full. Speed res solo, definitely want the res, speed is nice as well. I think that Lucina or Masked Marth would be one of the few really strong users of def res solo when that gets released as a seal. So if we ever see that, that would be nice. Skipping Rolf. Next we have Ursula, and the reason why I personally actually think Ursula is really bad. That's why. Oh, I actually moved Ursula because sorry, I moved her down before making this, I guess. But one of the major things I wanted to note about Ursula is the reason she's so much worse than units like Matthew. Because Matthew has 25 attack. Matthew is really, really bad. Ursula has 29 attack. 29 is not that bad. But the reason Ursula is so bad, even with the attack boon, even with Fear Stance, even with this new like broadleaf-esque effect. The thing about Matthew is that daggers do -7 defense and res no matter what you do. And then you run attack smoke and you have like, what's that? That's 7, 7, 7. That's 21 true damage almost regardless. The thing about Ursula is she's a tome. Yes, she's effective against cabs. What do you do? She does not do -6 or -7 defense and res, which is one thing that Matthew really strives off of. She has to run res smoke, and even then, that is what, 6 or no, that's 7 damage with res smoke, I guess, because it's minus res. That's 14 extra damage. That's all she's getting. She's not getting double smokes or anything like that. And she's colored, so I really don't think she's getting that far. If she was a colorless mage and she had those debuffs, she would be better than Matthew in every way, but that's just the thing, she's not. So unfortunate for Ursula fans, she's probably okay on cap line, but it is what it is. Did that. Yogur. So Summer Yogur, pretty decent unit overall. Once again, same build as Astrum, Itsuki, etc. I did give her Dex Wobbler because Dex Wobbler is the essentially, I think somebody put it as LOL 5. It's essentially inflicts -5 attack and defense on foes with on foe, and it ignores their stat boosts in those two areas if you're solo, and that is such a solo is 1 space, not 2, so that's a super easy Condition to follow, especially if you have like shove on Brave Lucina like I do. Speed Res Solo, given. This encounter, given. Spurn, really good, but you can run something like no C, no follow up, tons of stuff. Which is why I like these speedy infantry units so much. They have so many options to run other skills. You see things like Pulse Smoke, you see Attack Smoke, you see... I've even seen like, and this is very rare, but I've seen like even Pulse Tie on a tank, which is absurd to me. But some people do it, some people like it. More power to them. Lastly, for the units I'll be covering with builds, we have Kemp, and as someone I also know put it, Kemp is Kemp is just like Elliewood, but Elliewood got a stupid refine and it's really good. If Elliewood wasn't so good, you would be seeing a lot of Kemps. Kemp's his Vein Edge. It is basically like the Candlelight Staff, so it inflicts a smoke-like effect and foe cannot counterattack. So you have him with Heavy Blade, Lunge, things like that. You go through somebody, you get behind their team, and then you should maybe be in Wings of Mercy range, and nobody can counterattack, so they can just get hit all of the time. So you have a Mage, you have a Brave Ike, and you have a Lillian in the back. She's just hitting him. Brave Ike isn't counterattacking, she can just hit him, get dance, hit him again, he hopefully dies. Because he can't counterattack. That's why he's so good. And no skill like that has been put in place yet. Like a, I don't even know what they would call it, but essentially they can't counterattack, and they really won't be able to counterattack it until the next turn, and nothing is stopping Kemp from just running it again. He's a very, very strong unit. So, now that we're done with that, we will go through simply all of these units and why I don't personally have them super high. Archer, once again, see these units. One second. Excuse me. There we go. So, Black Knight, he's okay. Zogus exists, obviously Black Knight's free, but he's not great. He's 165 armor, he's almost day 1, he's very, very old. I think he might hit 170, but either way it's not worth it. Clarice, overall pretty decent unit. You can run like a budget Layla because of with her refine, she gets the fire sweep effect, or budget Eleonora I should say. She does not get the swapping thing, which is what makes Layla so good. Cormag, pretty much good stats, nothing else. It's free to him. And he's a flyer. He would be a really good unit if he was not a flyer. Conrad, really good res, really good defense, pretty decent cav. Low speed, he's not getting anywhere. Sylvia, or not Sylvia, Jesus. Cynthia, okay Sathbred. That's pretty similar to her mom's, so not really worth it. Also, pretty standard Lance Flyer, or Pegasus Flyer I should say. Really comparable to all the other ones we have in the pool currently. Daros, he's alright. The best thing about him is his weapon, which you can give to anyone else. He's a semi-decent stat spread. Dorcas, very similar stat spread actually. Dorcas is armored, really slow. He does score okay, but that's about all you get out of him. New Year's Heir, Red Dagger. That's she's decent fodder for her dagger at least, but being a red dagger is not doing her any favors. Valentine's Elliewood, a lot of people have him really high. I personally don't. He just scores. If you want a unit to score in arena, Flame Emperor is a really good example, but Valentine's Elliewood, I think it's a 175 maybe. Either way, there are better units out there, especially in the 3 to 4 star pool, which do not cost Tempest Trial level Grails. Emerin, really average cavalry unit, I guess. You can run Panic Staff even though she does not have the best stats. Summer Fiora, she's a pretty decent weapon. She has good fodder. Her stat line's alright, but she's a flyer. She's a sword flyer, which is very common, so nothing too new. Keith, Lance Flyer, Core Mag exists, and Core Mag is worse. Or not worse. Core Mag exists, and Core Mag is, he's alright. Keith's got some, not exactly min-max, but he's got some very different stat spread. Core Mag going for a lot of speed, he's not. Hinata, he's alright. Tempest Trial levels of Grails again. He's just a Green Axe infantry when you have things like Echidna, Mustafa, and Ross, just better units in my opinion. Really good weapon, but once again, he can give his weapon to other people. Jomke. I actually like Jomke because I think to this day he's the highest attack non-5-star archer. I personally have a Jomke. He's not that built, but sorry, he's not that merged. He's plenty built. Joshua's a really decent stat spread, to be quite honest. If you max him out entirely, he can run anything like Astrum and Itsuki. He may not have the speed for it, but he pretty much makes up for it with his other scats. Hopefully when he gets a refine, he'll be a little bit better, because his weapon is pretty much just slaying and res +5. So I feel like with a decent weapon, he'll hopefully be better. Linus, another unit who I have +10. He is, I think, my first +10 Grail unit. Probably not the best investment looking back on it, but I use him in tandem with my Layla. I give him Fort Defres and Spurn, and he goes to town, just tanks everything. Next, Renea, once again, Dancer. Her weapon's pretty good, but it just doesn't guard. You can give that to other people. Next we have where actually I think Ursula is. We talked about her earlier. That's where I think she is. Wellheart benefits from being solo, and that's really hard to do on any kind of team. I guess you can run it like maybe as a bait, but either way, a unit that wants to take baits with the color is probably pretty bad. Last in the should not tier is Zephiel. Now Zephiel basically has a distant defense weapon, and everything he does, distant defense. He doesn't have distant counter. I know a lot of people give him distant counter, but he's a 165 red armor, 165 BSD red armor with no speed. He's just not worth it in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion probably. The only reason he's up there is I probably could put him down, but it's not really worth it. I don't know, well, pretty much every unit from here on, I will put him down. Pretty much every unit from here on, not worth touching, I guess. Arvis, boy, that's all he ever was, probably all he ever is. And the worst part about him is even with this new res buff, or res boon that he could have, he's barely scraping 40 res without fury. Temu, updated. Cav unit with DC and 17 res. Not getting too far. Clive, decent refine. Matilda got the much better end of his refine, or of their refine, I guess. But the thing about Matilda is that she has a slaying weapon, and he has an armor effective weapon. Hers being a lot better. And like Corin, he's not getting anywhere. He doesn't do a whole lot. Very basic archer who is outshined by pretty much every archer infantry in the game. Aramea, pretty new. She's alright. She just has the exact same stat line as units like Mercedes, so not a whole lot to do out of that. Finn, that's what he does. Most people have him in Arena Assault, like I do. Guess what he does? Actor says to me about it. He kills red swords. That's it. Jerome. Flying green axe. Not doing a whole lot. So Wyvern Rider, sure she exists. Who's that? Garnet? Garnet's alright. He can be pretty okay. I often don't think he's that good. He has a couple things right, but he just has a pretty lackluster stat spread in general. Next is Har. Same thing with Jerome. Sure she exists. Granted, Har's stat spread is quite a bit different from Jerome's, but what are you gonna do? Next, Julius. Another ploy, but you can actually run him as a unit. I don't think he's that good. I've seen a lot of stuff about him. I've seen a lot of people trying to make him work with like sturdy stance 4, stuff like that. Even then, I don't think he's that great. Next, now KANA. I plan on making a male KANA. I have a build for him and everything, but I am doing that for the sole purpose of content. Unless you're making content for people or yourself to enjoy. Like, I really like KANA as a character. There's a lot of nostalgia for me and this game. So I personally will be building male KANA. I really don't recommend that other people do that, but I will be building male KANA. But yeah, just build no way she's better. And even then, don't build no way she's out there yourself. New Year's Leg Yarn, Lance Cav, tons of Lance Cavs. Picnic Leo, he can be okay on a Cav line. He does have that advantage of having that much range, but in general, just not great. Pretty lackluster stat line and like close to no speed. Green calves aren't fantastic. Lloyd can be okay. Like, he does a lot right, but he also does a lot wrong. Not my favorite overall, especially with the amount of red swords that there are in the Grail pool. There's just so many better options. Like, I know I've been kind of like not loving Astrum, but if you're going for Lloyd because of Grail cost, I think Astrum is the same, if not one more. I don't know, I don't remember if Lloyd got rerun, but either way, Astrum is sheerly tons better than Lloyd. No Rose near him. Marth. A lot of people like Marth because he's pretty. He's also Marth. A lot of people like Marth. But he's just Marth. He's just an Axe Cav. He's not doing anything too special. Pretty standard stat line. Nothing too big. Next is Marissa. Marissa can be okay. I personally think that pretty much any unit can be good under given circumstances, because I run a +10 Soleil, and Soleil has 24 res, and I use her as a null C tank occasionally. So you can do anything you want, but I think Marissa's pretty subpar. Her HP is good versus why she has infantry pulse, but exactly that. She can just be used for infantry pulse, so that's what I would recommend at least. Next is Callus. Callus is alright. He's a flyer. I think Hot Claire is actually a really strong weapon. That's why you see Fur getting so much usage out of her Nameless Blade. I think Hot Claire is actually pretty strong. It's just that on a flyer he doesn't have access to nearly as many skills as infantry units do. He's pretty subpar there. Narcian, he got his refined pretty recently. Not fantastic from what I can remember. Still holding him back a lot. Still, despite his refine, he's not super good stat wise. Not getting a whole lot of that. Thema Robin, once again, stats holding her back. Now Robin, very similar, different colors, but shouldn't change too much. Not to mention that Male Robin has Resplendent now, so he's much better anyway. Plus 2 to all stats. I don't think either of them are good in general, but she's definitely worse of the two. Rutger, fast infantry swordsman, see above. I see Riss, or Reese, however you say his name. New guy with Palm Staff. He has Palm Staff. Palm Staff's really strong on everyone else as well as him. I think Palm Staff is really good for him. It's pretty decent for his stat line, but a lot of people want it more. I think you certainly can run Riss, I just wouldn't. For Reese. Next, Sias. Boy with blue this time. Once again, outdated res, not a whole lot else to say. Silk, she would be decent on a cav line, but she has no attack. Like, very low attack. Tobin, recently got a refine, still not great. He's a good arena assault check, but outside of that, he doesn't need to do a whole lot. Trevant, Cormag, Heath, but very min-maxed. Gets lots of defense, lots of attack, not much speed, not much res. Pretty normal Wyvern Rider. Walter already has prep, so it makes it a little weird to see him getting a refine. Hopefully he should soon. Something like Death, hopefully, I guess, for Walter fans. But his is basically it's worse. It's Fury 2, but in a weapon. It's not great. I think it's alright. A refine certainly would help him, but I don't know if a refine would fix him. He's a lance cap. There's not a lance cap. Lance flyer. He's not getting too many places. Xander, Horse Cav, red, 18 res. He's fine, but he needs a lot of fixing up. Whenever Zephyr already. Lastly, we have the no tier, and Arden is in here. Arden, just worse BK. Oliver, like, go for any other blue tone. Any of them, they're all fine. These two. Just look up Ray. He's a really bad red tone, and he's somehow better than these two. These two both require the full Grail set for Tempest Trial units. That's 9 copies. Are you spending 9 copies of Grails for Ray to have a slightly different weapon? And KANA has an owl tone. That's available on other units. It certainly isn't common, but there's no reason to use KANA unless you like him. And Lorenz, he's Summer Lorenz. He will more than likely get a real version in the pool, or in the summoning, or a summonable version. It's not like he's a villain. He's a good guy. He will likely see the light of day in the summoning pool. But yeah, those are my opinions on all of the current available units via Grails, or will be available certainly, being Darius and Aramaya. But it's been a pretty long video, so I apologize for that. Hopefully you don't mind the rants. I repeat myself a lot. But that's just my opinion. As far as what I have personally, I refuse to make Cronia or Cronia just personal things. Nothing too important. I personally have a +10 of Ursula, +10 Winter Cecilia, +10 Linus. I'm going to make a +10 KANA. I have a +6 Delthea, or Fallen Delthea. And I think that's it for merged up units that I have in this pool. I have gotten plenty of Marthas for infantry pulse, but outside of that, I don't think I've spent Grails on anything that I haven't just mentioned. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you can. Means a lot. Just kidding. Trying to do a lot more YouTube stuff recently. I'll probably make an update video on that a little bit later. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in whatever the next video is I decide to do.